Good evening and welcome to this virtual Peace Feast. It's fantastic to have you with us. This event is a celebration of all that refugees and asylum seekers contribute towards our city, and it's part of the Bristol Refugee Festival that's been going on all week and is organised by Bridges for Communities in collaboration with Baraka Community Cafe. My name's Dan Green and I'm the Managing Director of Bridges for Communities, and I'm going to be your host this evening. It's so good to have people joining us from Bristol and beyond. Thank you for being part of it. So I'm hosting, but once again, it's been a huge team effort to make this happen, headed up by Dan Maurice, who's our Peace Feast project manager. He's working hard behind the scenes to make sure that everything is running smoothly, and we'll hear from him a little bit later in the evening. We've got Esther and the team at Baraka Community Cafe who've prepared 75 takeaway meals for us to share together in a few minutes' time. 10 volunteer cyclists who are going all over central and east Bristol distributing those meals. And of course, those of you who are joining from home, thank you so much for doing so. Thank you for buying tickets. And a special thank you to those of you who bought Pay It Forward tickets. We really appreciate that. It means that we've been able to offer a takeaway meal tonight or next week to 30 members of the refugee and asylum seeking community. So thank you. Now, we're really excited about what lies in store this evening, because at Bridges, we're all about connecting people of different cultures and faiths. We really see that as our purpose as a charity, to help each one of us get out of the bubble that we live in and to engage with the other, whoever that other might be. And one of the groups that we're most involved with here in Bristol is the refugee and asylum seeking community, which is why we're so excited to be part of Bristol Refugee Festival, which has been a fantastic program of events that have been going on. We want to see refugees and asylum seekers welcomed and celebrated in our city. And we hope that tonight is just a small part of that being the case. Now, I'd like to just run you through what our event is going to involve. So first up, we're going to have some music performed by our guest musician, Dijwar Khalil. He has recorded some special tracks exclusively for your enjoyment this evening, and we'll be speaking to Dijwar in a few minutes' time. During that time, we'd love you to just sit back, enjoy your meal, our shared meal in our homes, whether that's the takeaway meal from Baraka Cafe or your own food. After our 20 minutes of food and music, we'll get a live update from Dan Maurice, and then we'll hear from our 3 guest speakers. And that will take us to 8 o'clock, at which point you'll be invited to join a conversation on Zoom. That's where it really gets interactive, where you can chat with others that are part of the event tonight, and you can ask the speakers any questions that you may have. And perhaps discuss some of the things that you've heard. So that's the rough plan. And just before I ring the bell for dinner, we're going to try speaking with our chef and with our guest musician. I thought you might enjoy hearing from them. So Esther is joining us from Baraka Community Cafe, where her team have been working hard and preparing the meals. So Esther, good evening. How's it all been going today with the preparation?
Hiya, I hope this is all working. It's gone good, I think. I hope your taste buds will find out soon. Yeah, I think it went really well. It's quite stretched at the last minute. The main course dish has a lot of different elements in it, and I sort of underestimated how long it takes to put things together, like stupidly. But yeah, no, it's all gone well.
You got there in the end, which is fantastic. And I believe people have received a menu in their bag with their meal, but maybe you could just run us through what you've prepared this evening so they can really enjoy it and know what they're eating.
Sure. So we get our food from FareShare. We don't know what they're going to deliver each week. This week we had a lot of mangoes delivered, and a lot of green lentils, and a lot of salad stuff, and pomegranates, which is crazy. And I had a lot of halloumi that was saved from about a month ago. So it made sense to do. So I'm a bit frazzled. I'm still in kitchen mode. it made sense to make a halloumi dish to start. So we've got halloumi, mango, and chili and lime salad. Don't know where it comes from, doesn't have a particular origin, I guess, from my head. And the idea of like sweet mango and salty halloumi, and then spicy chili and sour lime and a crispy onion, it should be a good like texture and flavor number. The main course is a cake on sabich, which is basically a sandwich in Hebrew and Arabic, I think. So we haven't got the sandwich, instead we've got like a lentil loaf, and then the elements of sabich, which are really important, which are roasted aubergine, soft-boiled egg, and amber, which is a sort of tangy mango pickle. And yeah, that's that dish. And then fattoush, which is a very Middle Eastern salad. Everyone makes it, and everyone makes it in different things. And there are endless arguments about like the Israeli restaurants that I've worked in, and they're all like, "Oh, my mum does it like this. My mum does it like this. You can't put this in. You can't put this in." But yeah, this is my one.
Excellent.
Yeah, I hope you like it. And then on the top of the egg, there's powdered beetroot, which is the little bright pink stuff, and pomegranate, and some pickled red onion, just because I really wanted to put some good colour in it. I like colourful food. And then your pudding is from Emmeline, which is a little cafe. They've got a cafe on Spike Island in the centre of Bristol and a cafe on Stokes Croft. A really nice lady has donated. She's made you tropical meringues. So it's a play on Eton mess. We've got Eastern mess, loads of different fruit in there, Greek yogurt and meringue.
Esther, that all sounds absolutely amazing, and I know that people will be chomping at the bit and ready to enjoy it. So thank you for all of your hard work today, and please pass that on to your team as well. And if people can hold on just a few more minutes, I'd love to introduce you to our guest musician as well, Dijwar Khalil. Dijwar, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for taking the time to record some music for us. Would you mind just introducing yourself a little bit and telling us a little bit of your story?
Do you hear me? Does it sound okay? Is it okay?
That's great.
Okay. So hello everyone, and thanks Dan for giving me this opportunity to be with you here today. Well, my name is Dijwar Khalil. I am Kurdish from Syria. I came to the UK. It's almost now like 5 years ago. So after actually the current conflict, which is still ongoing in Syria, unfortunately. Yeah, and I'm currently continuing my study after like 7 years where I was out of the university, where I couldn't, and I'm sorry, maybe something is wrong with my mic. Yeah. After like almost 7 years out of the uni, I finally got the opportunity here to continue my study at the Bristol Uni. I'm doing anthropology and archaeology as I used to do in Syria. I had like in Syria when I was a student, I had just like 4 subjects left to get my graduation, but unfortunately, yeah, so basically the conflict happened and we fled the country. I've seen myself here in the UK. Yeah.
Wow. So you were so close to finishing your degree, and then that got taken away from you. But here you are, persisting with it, which is fantastic in Bristol, and we really wish you well with that. Would you mind telling us too a little bit about your instrument that you're going to play and your music?
It's called saz. It's stringed instrument. It has like several types, like baglama, divan saz, we call it in Kurdish and Turkey. Turkish. The divansas which I play, it's like it has like longer neck than the bağlama. You play vertically, where the bağlama usually played like in horizontal way. You know what I mean? Music, the kind of music I play, it almost most of the music I play is Middle Eastern music. Actually, I play Kurdish, Turkish, Persian, and it's not. To be honest, it's not for me just like just the music. I find peace in music, where I can bring all the opposite people who used to see each other as enemies in Middle East. I find peace in it, where I can bring all these opposite people together, and on my instrument, and play Kurdish, Turkish, doesn't matter what nation this music come from and what region it comes from. This is what we really need in Middle East, actually, because the idea of typical enemies, and in Middle East, where people burn to see the other nation, or it's regarding or based on political aspect, whatever, where people used to see each other as whatever. So this is what I find in my instrument. I find peace. I like to see, it has, but by the way, it has like 7 strings. I can find, my own nation on one string, Turkish on the other string, maybe Persian on the third string, you know what I mean? So this is what I like about my instrument. Yeah.
That's amazing, Dijwa. I love that, using your music as a vehicle for peace. And I think we'll all experience some of that as we listen now. So thanks again for recording. And I'd invite everybody just to sit back, enjoy your food as Dijwa plays. A couple of things, though, that you may want to engage with, just because this is a shared event. If you don't mind, on the live chat, just saying hello and where you're tuning in from, we'd love to know. And then the second thing is, if you're up for it, taking a photo of yourself having dinner and enjoying Dijwa's music, and then send it to me. My details will come up on the screen so that you can do that. And we'll just gather together some images of how people are engaging with tonight's event. Okay, so sit back, enjoy your meal. Bon appetit. Thank you so much, Dijwa. Thank you for a wonderful performance, and just what a brilliant example of all that refugees or people arriving in this city as refugees bring to the city and add to the vibrancy and richness of the place that we live. Thank you. And thanks to Esther and the team at Baraka Community Cafe for a delicious takeaway meal that many have been able to share in together. Now, just before we hear from our speakers, we're going to hear a little bit from the man who's made all of this happen tonight. And if I can just share my screen, I have a few images of people enjoying the event. So this is Kathleen in Nailsea. If I just click on slideshow here, excuse the slight technological delay. Here's Kathleen enjoying the meal and Dijwa's performance in Nailsea. And here's Margaret Hickman. Great to have you with us tonight, Margaret. Thank you for joining. Here's Susanna. Nice to see you, Susanna. Steve and Liz also sent in pictures, and I'm sure there's others as well. Apologies if I've missed anybody, but great to see you all enjoying it. And Dan, you have put in a lot of hard work to make this happen. How's it gone today, and what's been going on?
Well, it's been good fun. So a lot of the organisation has been in the last few days. This afternoon, I've mostly been Esther's sous chef. I've spent a lot of time sprinkling pomegranate seeds on salads, which is not something that I thought I would do. But it's been good fun. There's a nice buzz here in the cafe, and we've got a lot of volunteers who have basically just helped out. So lots of people with some chefing skills who've jumped in. Obviously, the cyclists have been amazing, getting to different parts of Bristol. And so, yeah, it's a nice atmosphere. I think the food's looking great. I don't know how it's tasting. I haven't had mine yet. They look very nice, very colourful. So, yeah, hopefully people are enjoying it. Or they have enjoyed it, I suppose. It's 7:30, isn't it? So we'll have to find out.
Yes, most people have eaten. So with all that hard work that you've put in, Dan, what makes it worth it for you, and what are your hopes, for this evening?
Well, I think we've seen, like, I've lived in Bristol for a long time, and I think a lot of people, there's a real desire to connect and to get to know each other, to sort of love your neighbour, and particularly in this time of lockdown, we've seen lots of division and lots of despair, and I think there's a real desire to come in the opposite spirit. But sometimes it's difficult to know how to do that, particularly without, keeping socially distanced and all that kind of thing. You have to be quite creative. So it's been nice to have a team who can actually make that happen, and get meals to people, but also to use Zoom. I think when this started, I was moaning about Zoom and saying, I just want to meet my friends. But actually, more recently, I suppose as we've got used to it, I've been thinking, what, this is a real privilege that we can still connect, we can still meet people from different ways, different cultures, and even new people. We have the coffee lounge and Zoom. Last time we did the Peace Feast, I got to make some new friends. It was just good fun, and I feel like maybe society's got used to this now, the new normal, and actually it's still possible to connect, to learn from new people, to hear different people's stories. That's all worth it. I think when it first hit, people thought, let's just wait it out. But now it's been a couple of months. It's time to be creative and find ways of meeting together, even from the safety of our homes. So yes, it's been fun.
Brilliant. Well, thanks for all you've done, Dan. And we're going to hear from some of those people that you've just mentioned, and that's our opportunity to listen and learn. And as people know, tonight is part of Bristol Refugee Festival, and we're celebrating the contribution that refugees and asylum seekers make to Bristol. So we're absolutely delighted. We're honoured to have three guest speakers, who are Lizzie Briggs from Bristol Hospitality Network, and Bushra Al-Sakaf and Filsan Adan, both who work with us at Bridges, but you're going to hear a little bit of their stories and perspectives tonight as well. So thank you all for joining us tonight. We're looking forward to what you have to say. And we're going to go first to Bushra, if that's okay, because Bushra, I believe that you might even have some of your family members tuning in from Yemen, so we don't want them to miss you. Is that right?
Exactly. Hello, everyone. Assalamu alaikum. Basically, it's the time now in Yemen, I think 9:30. So hopefully they have electricity. They can watch me. Hello, Bristol all. Thank you, Dan, for having me today. Basically, I came here to the UK in 2014. So I'm here around 6 years now, almost. Next week I'll be 6 years exactly. As you said, I'm working with Bridges for Communities, maybe now 3 years. I start as engagement worker to do all the events for the refugee. It was really something I'm proud of, because when you just throw the smile in those people who they had suffering from the war, and many things happen in their life, so that will make you feel happy in your life.
Yeah, thank you, Bushra. And could you tell us a little bit of your own story and your experience of being a refugee, the challenges and some of the things that have maybe helped you along the way?
The first thing, to live in my family, the main family and my friends, my country, is like you leave something back, something apart from yourself, and you come to a new country, and there is many challenges you will have it. One of them, of course, was the English language. I work hard to myself, to I can speak very well. Then I promised myself, I said, come on, in 1 or 2 years you have to speak. You don't have to just feel like I'm here lonely. Why? I have to break this barrier and carry on in my life. Then I did it. Maybe when I come here, I come maybe as a different situation than the others. I came as a student, international student. Then I start to study, and after that, everything changed my life ups and down. They start the war in Yemen, and I couldn't back to my country. And I cannot look back, because I have a lot of things I have to achieve in my life. I'm someone so ambitious, someone optimistic all the time, and I don't want to let my family get down, because all what they have in their lives. So at least if I am success person, that will make them proud of me and happy. I'm trying, I'm still trying, I'm still working. So
yeah, you're doing an incredible job, Bushra, and you're giving back towards so many people in so many ways. So you mentioned
all the challenge and the difficulties nowadays, we still, all of us, not only me.
Yeah. You mentioned not being able to go back to Yemen at the moment, and we see it a little bit in the news, but not enough. Could you just mention briefly what the challenges are for your country at the moment, because I know it's incredibly serious?
First, I would like to give a small information about my country, Yemen. Yemen is the origin country of Arab, who they start to immigrate to the UK since 140 years ago, and they came here and they based in Cardiff, and they built a hotel for the boat workers who they was working for the navigation and this kind of things. Then after that, they settle here, and now they have not a big community, but it's a good community, because they love to immigrate, to do some business. People who they believe the world it's for everyone, not only for a region or some countries, or for you, and the others is not for you. No, all this world for everyone. As many of challenges now they have it. One of things is what you have it here in the UK, and you think it's a normal things. We don't have it in Yemen. For example, the electricity, we don't have it. The water, the medicine. At least if you go to hospital to find something and you have a disease or pain, you don't have. You cannot even pay for that. Even they don't have it in the hospital. So maybe not just only the war. The people there, they're suffering from everything. Even they need the food and they cannot even find it because all the border is closed. They cannot go outside and no one can go in. So from here I can just say to anyone they can help this really a difficult moment, not only for them, for everyone, but at least if you can help by your organization or by donate something to Yemen, or if you cannot, just pray for them, and I appreciate that. I would like to say something about Yemen. It's something I am proud of. Yemen is the first country who they planted the coffee. And I know the English people, they like the coffee. And
we do, absolutely.
Yeah, one of the things that you know it here, you call it mocha. Mocha basically is a port in Yemen, and we call it mocha. But because of the English people, they cannot say kha, then they start to say mocha. So this for you only.
So next time we have a mocha or we see it on the menu, we must think of Yemen.
Next time I pray, and inshallah, if the God willing, all of us win my country back to be a safe country, and I will invite you all to come with me, and we'll go there and you will see something really different and than the others were.
Thank you so much, Bushra. Thank you for what you've shared with us. That's very personal and really gives us an insight into to another country. So we will certainly keep that in our thoughts and prayers, and be thinking of your family and others there at the moment. We're going to come on to our next speaker, Lizzie Briggs from Bristol Hospitality Network, and looking forward to hearing a little bit about the work that you've been doing, Lizzie, particularly during the lockdown, and how COVID-19 has affected asylum seekers, and particularly destitute asylum seekers. So thanks for being with us, and over to you.
Thanks, Dan. Yeah, pleasure to be here. As Dan said, my name is Lizzie, and I'm working as the director of the Bristol Hospitality Network, which is known as BHN. I'm actually the maternity cover for the very wonderful Rachel B, who's the co-founder of the charity, and didn't expect to be dealing with a pandemic during my time in this job, but it's a huge privilege to be working with asylum seekers. And yeah, I'm just going to say a little bit about what BHN sort of do and what the sort of normal looked like before the pandemic, and how the pandemic has affected our services and the people that we work with. So BHN started in 2009 to extend solidarity to people experiencing destitution due to their asylum seeker status. So many asylum seekers, when they come to the UK, are refused and find themselves destitute as a result. So they basically have no right to work, no ability to rent privately or receive any benefits or receive any social housing. So basically homeless, no income, and in a really challenging situation, and no ability to really bring themselves out of it. And so they risk persecution if they return to their home countries quite often. And so their only options really are illegal working, high risk of exploitation and trafficking and abuse, being severely marginalised in the UK community, and often sleeping rough when they can't access housing. If that wasn't difficult enough from the people I've spoken to, it's clear that many are suffering with the effects of PTSD and the consequences of trauma. And the only way forward really for them is to make a fresh claim to try and get onto the kind of citizenship ladder. To be able to make this claim, obviously, it's a really challenging situation. So asylum seekers need stability and the safety and support in finding the right evidence in order to do that and to get good legal advice. So it's really difficult if you've come to the UK and you don't know the language maybe, and you don't really quite understand the culture. It's almost nigh impossible really if those other things aren't taken care of. So in 2009, Rachel and one of our ex-trustees, a lady called Naomi Milner, founded BHN with the one sole purpose to provide accommodation. That was their main kind of focus. If we can get asylum seekers in accommodation, then they at least have a chance of being able to put forward a fresh claim. So our current accommodation provision is made up of an 11-bed house, which was very generously gifted to us at the beginning of our time. And that has 10 male asylum seekers and a host couple who help manage the house alongside some volunteers. We also have a host network. So that is about 11 houses and some partner organisations housing about 17 members. So in total, BHN house and host about 29 destitute asylum seekers. Over the last 10 years, our service provision is kind of extended to some other things. So we have a help team that help asylum seekers with their claim, help them to understand what evidence is and how they get it, and get them referred to a solicitor to help them with that claim. We also did have a weekly drop-in on a Monday. COVID closed that, unfortunately, but the drop-in was, and I encourage people to contact us and come and see us when it comes back. But it was really the heart of BHN. It was a place where around 120 on average refugees and asylum seekers would come. We'd give a hot meal, often prepared by our sort of asylum seeker member volunteers. We have arts and creative engagement activities. We also had a barber and we had sewing table, lots of different activities that people could get involved in. We had some great English classes. And also chance for our members, as we call them, to get involved in campaigning and also to talk to BHN about how can we keep serving the needs of the people we want to serve better, and how can we be a good service to those who find themselves in the asylum system. COVID's obviously changed a lot of things. As I said, the Monday drop-in stopped as soon as the government restrictions came in. And also on a Friday, we had our claim support drop-in, and that had to stop as well. Everything's kind of gone online. And the first sort of 4 or 5 weeks were responding to that and trying to make sure we had systems in place to support people. And we focused primarily on those 29 housed and hosted members. The focus was at keeping the accommodation network stable. Even since COVID sort of started, we have moved around 7 or 8 people because host placements came to an end, people were self-isolating, which to me just really reflects that even though the gift of someone's room as a host is amazing, it's still temporary accommodation, it's not secure and it's not permanent. So yeah, about 7 or 8 people we've had to move around so far. Before COVID, we used to give something we used to call the Solidarity Fund. So that was £10 a week to help people who didn't have an income. We increased that to 20 because as COVID started, there was no income coming from anywhere for the people that we help. So we increased that. We also managed food referrals, and I'm going to take a chance to big up some other organisations here. Aidbox and Borderlands have both been amazing with giving out food on a Tuesday at Borderlands, and Aidbox have been giving out weekly packages of food, and we've been able to refer our members to them. So thank you so much, you guys. You've been absolutely brilliant. And also well-being. So we've taken care of accommodation and food and money. But it's a really tough time. People's mental health have been really kind of shaken at this point, as well as members who is quite a triggering time for any PTSD they're struggling with, or depression and anxiety. So we've been doing welfare calls on a weekly basis to both members and hosts to kind of keep in contact. It quickly became apparent that then tech was an issue. So some people didn't have smartphones or tablets and needed some help with paying for data. We've been paying for some data, but again, another big up of the Bristol Refugee Rights charity, because they did a great fundraising campaign and raised a lot of money to get smartphones and tablets for people. So we've referred to them a lot. So thanks to them for helping in that way. And the help teams carried on helping with claims, but the claim process has really slowed down. And so although we're sort of still pursuing stuff, it's kind of on a bit of a go slow at the moment, which is just also so frustrating for people who've been waiting already for a long time because the process is already slow, but it's still trying to operate. Looking to the future at the moment for us, I mean, it's impossible for everyone, right? But the focus we've got is accommodation. We really want to expand our host network, which kind of probably sounds like a crazy thing to want to do, which is getting people to let people stay in their homes. But there's some asylum seekers who, some are known to us, some not, currently being temporarily housed by the Bristol City Council. So we're working closely with them, which has been actually quite a silver lining to come out of COVID, to try and support how we can do that well. So yeah, expanding that is a real focus for us at the moment, and trying to continue helping people during this very weird time.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, you're doing a tremendous job, as are the other organizations that you've mentioned there. So thank you for that insight. Just one final question, because tonight is partly about celebrating the contribution that people make, and I imagine that folks that you work alongside have many barriers and obstacles towards the contributions that they can bring. But what do you see happening despite those barriers, or what do you see as the potential that Bristol is not really tapping into or harnessing or enjoying because of the barriers of the system?
Yeah, I think you kind of said it right. There's a huge amount of restrictions, and every member we have that I speak to is desperate to contribute to the UK and to make a place for themselves here and to give back. It's been difficult during COVID, if I'm honest. We've got a lot of members who are supporting each other, which is really great to see. Bristol Refugee Festival, one of our members has given a story which is on their YouTube, but that's been animated, which is really great. But it's been really hard actually to kind of harness that. Before COVID, we had some of our members trained by the charity Mind in listening. And I think that's going to get sort of somehow reinstated online, so they can continue to provide that. But you kind of hit the nail on the head, like people are desperate to contribute and it's actually really difficult.
Okay, well, thank you, Lizzie, for all that you've shared tonight. And if anyone wants to get in touch, I'm sure they can do that just through your website or dropping you an email. But yeah, thank you for all of that. And that brings us on to our last speaker, who is Filsan. And Filsan, thank you for joining us. Great to have you with us. And Filsan works with us at Bridges, but I really wanted her to be part of the conversation tonight because she may have a little bit of a different perspective. And we wanted to try and convey really the range of experiences that come under those labels, you know, refugee or asylum seeker. So Filsan, could you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your story coming from a family that moved to the UK as refugees, but you yourself growing up here? What is your relationship with that label refugee?
Hi. Before I start, I just wanted to thank Bushra and Lizzie for the for their stories. It was really impactful, especially Bushra and your story about Yemen. We're all thinking of Yemen, and inshallah khair for the country. On to me. I am Filsan. I am a 24-year-old Somali woman, a refugee, and I think with Somali people of my age, I think we kind of deal with imposter syndrome almost, because we feel like we're kind of on a crossroads. Like, we're not really with the label of refugee. We don't feel like we warrant it because we haven't been through any particular struggles ourselves. It was more our parents who fled war-torn countries, and we were just there. Like, we were born just before, just after the war, and so like it kind of puts us in an awkward situation because I wouldn't really define myself as an actual refugee. So like, my story is I came to the UK when I was 3 years old back in '99, and I remember bits of Ethiopia where I grew up, and I remember bits of the UK after, when I was like trying to adapt and stuff. And I think like navigating life around the UK, you wouldn't notice like on first meeting that I was a refugee, but there's like little nuances and little culture shocks and stuff that I remember growing up, being the eldest as well. I'm the eldest of 7, so I'm the only child out of my parents that wasn't born here. So, it was like going through school and realizing that refugee is kind of a bad thing, and then getting taken to a castle when I was like 10 years old to become a full-on citizen and being given a medal. It was just a lot of like confusion as to where I was. Like, I think I would have like an identity crisis whenever I'd fill out a form and it said like choose your nationality. I was like, am I Ethiopian? Am I Somali? Am I British? Am I English? Like, what am I? And I think like it's the case with a lot of Somali people in particular, and other second generation and first generation children. It's the kind of pool of 2 cultures, and sometimes even 3 or 4, and just trying to find where you belong, if you belong anywhere at all. So it brings up a lot of questions that myself and other Somalis my age, I'm sure, are navigating daily.
Yeah, that's really helpful, and that really makes sense to hear, I think. So with the Somali community in Bristol being quite significant in terms of the size, is there anything else that you'd like others at this event to know about your community, maybe about challenges that people face or opportunities or things that are going on?
Yeah, I think there's two sides to the coin with like the Somali community as there are with any other communities. I would say our biggest challenges are probably communication between generations, the pull of two cultures, I think, on like a personal level, and like more on a larger level, it would probably be, I don't know if I'm like qualified to even say it, but like gang violence and like the crime rate and like the fact that we're Black people as well. So there's all the challenges of like being a Black person in Britain as well that like are against us, I guess, and being Muslim as well. So like there's like a lot of interlocking of like issues that we have. But then on the more positive side, I think like if I had to say what was like our best quality, it would probably be an entrepreneurial spirit. I think if you give Somali's a crappy situation, they'll try and flip it and like make the situation good. Like, you know, you just have to walk down Eastern any day of the week and you'll see like a new Somali store popping up. Most Somali women I know have some sort of side business going on. Most young people I know have got some sort of side hustle going on, and like we're very ambitious. So with what little we have, we do try to make the best. And I think like I'm really hopeful for our younger generations, like my age and below. We're starting to tackle issues within our communities and sort of toxic culture traits and narratives that we've had growing up. We're challenging that, having open and broad conversations with our parents and stuff, and just trying to get everybody on a more peaceful and accepting playing field, I guess. And that's something that's really cool for the first generation of immigrants or refugees, I say. Like, I think the Somali youth, especially here in Bristol, like, I don't know, I'm really proud of them. I might be biased though, but I am really proud of where we're going and the direction we're going to, and the amount of like information and resources that are here for like my younger siblings that I wish I had when I was growing up. You know, I feel like they could find help and see a Somali in every position that they would want to be in, which I think is really beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to come back to that point about making the best out of a bad situation, final question is, could you just mention the project that you're now running with the Craft Collective? You know, out of this terrible pandemic comes something, I think, quite beautiful.
Yeah, as you all know, coronavirus happened, and so did lockdown. And now as we ease out, the Craft projects, which me and Sam run, we're making face masks, basically. To like the side of me is like 50 meters of fabric that we're going to be chopping up and sending up to around about 35 volunteers to make, and then hopefully we will get them out there, and then the proceeds will go to charities and stuff. And it's just a really good way of making a bad situation like coronavirus and, you know, the implementations from that into something great that will benefit and bring the community closer together. So that will be launching next week, fingers crossed, famous last words. But yeah, we're
brilliant.
Yeah.
No, you're going to make it happen, Phil-Sam. We believe.
We will.
Fantastic. Well, we're out of time, so let me say thank you to Phil-Sam, but then if we can also bring the other speakers back onto the screen and say thank you to all of you for all that you've shared, all that you've brought to this event. We've really, really enjoyed hearing from you and benefiting from your wisdom, so thank you. Now we've come to the point in the evening where we change gear, and we've got one more track from Dijwa for you to enjoy on this live stream, and you can grab a cup of coffee or just sit back and enjoy that. And then we're going to head over to the coffee lounge, which is being held on Zoom, and that's your opportunity to ask questions of the speakers if you'd like to, or to meet others that are part of the event, or to discuss some of the ideas that you've heard. So the link to that should have been in an email that you received when you registered for the event. So once you've heard Dijwa's final track, you can click on that, and some of us will be there waiting. And we'll have a discussion as a group, and then we'll break down into breakout rooms so that the group is not quite so big. Just before I say goodbye, though, would like to let you know that we are going to hold another Peace Feast in July. Don't know exactly what it's going to look like yet because we're waiting to see what happens with lockdown restrictions. And also, we'd love to hear what you thought of tonight. So we'll be sending out an email with a link to a feedback form. Please take a couple of moments to let us know because that helps us to plan and to improve things for the future. So from me and from everybody that's been part of this, thank you for joining in. Enjoy the final track, and then we'll see you in the coffee lounge. Thanks very much.